Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Valuable and Visible, Your Money Plan. And it is Karen Russo, and I'm just so grateful that each one of you is here. Whether you're here with us live or you're checking out the replay, this conversation is all about giving you some of my latest teachings about what does it mean to discover your true value and worth, connect it to how you make money in your life and business, and then how to create a plan so that you're making progress week after week toward your goals. What's also wonderful about today's Zoom training webinar is that I'm going to be sharing success stories and ideas and inspiration from CFO Camp, which is my signature coaching program. It's a 90-day group coaching. Our next one begins January 29th. And my intention is that if you want to feel into, is CFO Camp a fit, that this webinar will give you all the information you need. And then your next step would be to schedule a personal conversation with me. We call that a discovery session. And what you can see on the slide is this bit.ly link that would lead you to the link you'd need to schedule a one-on-one complimentary discovery session with me, where we'll look at what are your number one challenge to being valuable and visible. I'll share a tool or a resource with you, and then together we'll determine if the investment in CFO Camp is a fit right now. What I found is at these webinars, it's great to get the teaching and the background, and often people will feel most comfortable joining a group coaching program when they get a chance to have a personal Zoom with me. So that's where we're headed. I'm going to be sharing a medium amount of content. And sometimes in a thing like this, it used to be, I'd say, get out your notebooks and write down everything. But you know what? I want you to do some note-taking, but mostly I want you to tune in to how are you going to get the most out of this webinar. And that often comes from you tuning into a couple of things. What's the most important financial goal that you have in your life and business right now? Maybe for many of you, it's how do I increase more clients and more sales in my entrepreneurial, healing, realty, mortgage, designer business. What's your most important goal? Why is this important to you? We don't change unless it's important. And then what most needs to change for you? Is it mindset? Is it action? Is it tools? What most needs to change for you to move forward? If you've got those things in mind, it will help so much for you to get the most out of this webinar, not just in what I say, but in what you think about and reflect and discover for yourself. And many of you I know well, and some of you, this will be the first time that you're connecting with me. So let me give you a little bit of my background. So for those of you that are seeing the slides, you can see all those different little elements about me. You can see that there's me in the center with Dr. Michael Beckwith. So one of the things that's important to know about me is I have 25 years of personal and spiritual growth, including I'm an ordained Centers for Spiritual Living minister. And I did my early spiritual training, my counseling training, and my ministry training at the Agape Center in Los Angeles. And I got a chance to work with Dr. Michael Beckwith, and he's really, I would say, one of my primary spiritual teachers. The other thing you should know about me is I've got 25 years of corporate business money background. So I have an MBA from Columbia University, and I've got a real strong business generalist approach. And I will tell you, that's what people want from me. They want me to be able to, I talked to a lady today, she's got a $5 million family business, and their margins are getting squeezed right now. And I'm able to be in a conversation with her about how do they accelerate accounts receivable. Like, I understand business and money, and I bring that together with the spiritual. So that's why people work with me. And you'll see there's some pictures of my books. The Money Keys was written 10 years ago. It's the foundation of how to have a holistic approach to your money. And then Grow Yourself, Grow Your Wealth is my latest book, which is all about the weekly practices. I'm going to teach you those in this webinar. And then Think and Grow Rich for Women. Sharon Lechter asked me to write a chapter in Think and Grow Rich for Women, and she's always tickled to say she wanted a minister to write the sex chapter in Think and Grow Rich for Women. More on that another time. Let's talk about you. So that's me. Broad background. Most important for you is I know what your problems likely are. Threefold. So when I think about helping people out of financial and creative overwhelm, almost always it's something around you're working really hard, but you're not doing the most lucrative things, and that drains your energy. And then there's the whole thing of like, I'm tracking money, I'm tracking numbers, but it's not necessarily the right ones, and I don't really know what I'm looking at, which frankly is a waste of time. And then there's the whole thing of like, I want to look good, or I feel like I should launch this new program, but somehow I still feel disconnected or anxious or upset or shamed about money. And that old emotional burden, it squelches your spirit and it keeps you out of doing the most profitable and creative things. So that's why I created, after 10 years of doing a variety of different kinds of programs, my signature program, 90 days, 3 months, 13 weeks, 90 days, where we focus on getting you 3 results. So these are the predictable results that people get when they work in the CFO camp. Number 1 is financial breakthrough. It's really important if you want to make a change that you know you can have a cha-ching. So often, think about it, 3 months, people can do things like raise their prices 25%, or one gal got herself out of a $30,000 confusing debt obligation just by focusing on it for those 3 months, doing all the research and the action she needed to take. So 3 months is enough time to do something important, and it's also a short enough period of time to really get you excited, because that's what a breakthrough does. The second piece is healing and confidence. When you transform the old shame and you release that, what happens is the judgment about yourself goes away and people feel more confident as a leader, which fine-tunes your ability to make money. And the third thing is weekly momentum. I think it's really important that every week you're making progress toward your goals. For the super spiritual folks who often come and are attracted to my message, this is the accountability and structure piece. When every week you're looking at your financial goals, remember I asked you, what's your most important financial goal right now? If you're looking at that every week and you're determining what are the 2 or 3 most lucrative steps to take toward that goal, and then you take them and you have a group and a mentor who keeps you accountable, it's powerful. So with those as the results that you can accomplish, let's talk a little bit about some of the principles and tools and context that's going to help you. I'm going to talk about those 3 things: a financial perspective, healing, and then weekly momentum. I'm going to share with you some teaching and a couple of success stories for each of those 3. Financial breakthrough. You unlimited. So that's you in the center. And I like to teach and train people to think about, I'm one with something greater. And for our folks, it's higher power, source, universe, God, spirit. I'm one with something greater. I have a business that has revenues and expenses, and ideally, if it's well organized, it pays me some kind of salary. And there either is profit that I put back into growing the business or profit that I take out as an owner's draw. It's funded either by my own personal investment of my family or credit card or a bank loan. But there's a business that's part of me unlimited. There's family and household. Maybe I have a spouse or other kind of family income. And then there's savings and investment. It's really helpful to have a large context. I'm one with source, God is my supply, and these channels, business, household, savings, these channels are where money flows in, money gets spent, invested, applied, money gets saved. And I'm inspired by source and I'm respectful of channels. So for many people, just having that context ups your level of maturity about how you think about your money. Too many people are either in some kind of fantasy about the business, are disrespecting where money comes into the family, or they're not taking care to create savings and assets for the future. And so we like to get a big picture when we get started together because that gives you choices. Once you've got that big picture, then we can talk about the 5 goals. And this is where people will choose 1 or 2 of these goals to focus on in 90 days. These are the 5 financial results that when you track and measure, you make progress. Most people just focus on top line sales or the salary they get from their job. I like to have you expand that a bit. Financial money goals. Number 1, increasing income. So sometimes that means I want more sales in my business, more clients at a higher price, so that there's more what's called top line revenue coming in. So increasing that, the top line of the revenue, is what will ultimately lead to more income in your business. And when you've got increasing income as a goal, we like to work with, I find it's really kind of exciting and liberating for people to realize, oh, I can have more clients or higher prices or more channels. And even just to have that starting to get you thinking, it starts to make people get into action that really makes a difference. The second goal, decreasing expenses. I do not believe that you can scrimp your way to riches. So some financial teachers will tell you to stop drinking a latte. I'm going to say enjoy your latte. Just make more money if you need more money. As I have a sip of my coffee, my last vice that I've got, I will tell you that when it comes to expenses, the best way to decrease expenses, if you're going to streamline, is look at the big fixed expenses and get creative and courageous. So rather than trying to incrementally cut down on this or cut down on that, is look at the overall picture and see where you can make changes. And I will tell you, I always keep a project going when I lead CFO camp. And this past fall, I wanted to streamline expenses. So I just did an overhaul of our internet services that we use in our business. And I'm pleased to tell you, we took $500 plus every month out of the expenses for the business, which at the size that the Money Keys is, makes a difference. And we got better services, easier to use. Launch profitably. Often when people join CFO camp, they are new with their business. So they've been a project manager or a bookkeeper or done some kind of been a teacher, and now they're going to launch a coaching group or some kind of effort. And what I like to coach people to do is circulate from the start. So rather than I'm going to go over here and try to get it all figured out and designed and then go see who wants to buy it, what I like to do is coach people, get a pilot group together, design it based on what people are going to buy and invest, find out what they really need, not just what you think is a cool thing. So launching means more sales and marketing earlier in the process, and it also means charging for your services more frequently and more upfront. Improve systems. The time and energy that people waste not having the information they need about their money is staggering. I don't want you to do that. So the systems that you have for how you look at numbers, where it comes from, who manages that, it's not so important that you choose a particular system or process, but it's really important that you have one that works for you. So sometimes people will say, I'm going to improve I had a gal who was in our CFO camp. She wanted to improve her online booking system for her chiropractic office. And by doing that, by researching 2 or 3 different services, piloting one, it didn't work out the way she wanted. She chose another. She was able to reduce the amount of staff time on that project, and they're booked at 15 to 20% more. And finally, complete projects. I'm working with this one beautiful, very successful spiritual teacher who, when we worked together, what she really wanted to do was she wanted to complete a mortgage application for a purchase of a family home that included a whole bunch of complicated back taxes and other things. And that project, although it wasn't, quote, in her business, it was critically important to completing because the energy and attention that she'd been putting there was able to be freed up to go back into her ministry. So you can see 5 different goals. What I like to do with folks is educate people about all of them, but in 90 days, it's usually 1 or 2 that are your primary goals. So think right now, which of these things would I want to track and measure on a regular basis? And as I mentioned, when you do this, you can be very successful. This is Christy Nichols from the Kootenay Athletic Center in British Columbia. She was on the edge of bankruptcy, and all she was thinking about was the debt that she had. Student debt, government debt, business debt. And she wanted to just get herself out of debt. But when she realized that that was not going to be a sustainable approach, what she decided to do was focus on a holistic approach to grow her business, grow her income, and have a debt reduction plan. It took longer, but she very quickly got up to that $10,000 plus a month. And I will tell you now, she is debt-free. That's her on the top of the mountain. She's right now, she's off in Australia on a holiday, and her business is still running without her. So it's possible to have a holistic approach that moves you forward. And sometimes it's not just the revenue. This is Claire Perkins, who's an artist and an author. In 90 days, she completed her first book draft. She and her husband started to work together as a team. They'd always kept things separate. So they were able to take $500 a month out of their household expenses, mostly in insurances and other coverage. And she increased her income 15%. So sometimes, it's not just the sales, it's all the other pieces that make a big difference. So a couple of tips about whether you work with a coach or whether you're just tracking your own goals. I want to give you a little bit of a coaching around the difference between process measures and results measures. A process measure are the steps that happen to get a task or an outcome accomplished. A results measure is the number or the snapshot at the end of the time. So if you were working on attracting more clients to your coaching business, a process measure would be how many networking events do I go to? And how many business cards do I collect? And how many phone calls do I make? And how many discovery sessions do I have? And how many of those folks get converted into being a coaching client? That's a process measure. A results measure might be at the end of a month or the end of a quarter, how much money is in my bank account. Too many times people will just set an intention, stay busy, and hope that their results measures are in good shape. What I like to do is have you focus on your process measures, because those are the things you can commit to week after week. And if you've got a good, strong process, you can trust your results. In our last CFO camp, a beautiful woman who is a mortgage banker and is new to that business was able to keep her financial worry decreased, because what she would do is she trusted her process, meeting people, building relationship, gathering context, staying in touch, doing some education, getting the opportunity to research for a mortgage, taking the app, getting the thing closed, getting the dollars in her bank account. When she knew she had a process she could trust, she stopped freaking out if she was at step A or B with a prospect or a client, worrying about if Z would happen later. A process can keep you calm. So that's the whole financial goals piece. This is our first big topic. So I want you to just, of all the things I've shared about the different kinds of goals and process and results measures, make a note to yourself of something that is an insight for you. Our next topic is about your value and your confidence. And what I want to say to you, beloveds, is your value is priceless and your contribution is profound. Your value is priceless because you're already one with the infinite. That's what I know about you. So your essential truth is a spiritual truth. That's the premise of all the prayer and work and coaching that I do. You're whole. When we realize that and live it is when we fully express our divinity through our financial experience. And what I believe is that journey is an ongoing journey. So here's the model that I think is very helpful to think about. So you can see right there, this is all about what's called the comfort zone. So for those of you that see the slide, you see the circle and you see the little being inside. Inside the comfort zone, which represents a perceived boundary, your results are matching your self-perception. If we think of ourselves as a $100,000 coach, we're probably at the $100,000 level. If we think of ourselves as the most passionate interior designer with great creative ideas, we're probably creating some pretty passionate and creative interiors. What we think about ourselves is typically connected to what results we're getting. Often, though, we want to expand beyond that. So for those of you that can see it on the slide, there's a doorway there. It's kind of out beyond the comfort zone, is this idea that there's something greater. What's possible now? What's the goal? What's the dream? What's the desire? How do I want to expand? And the arrow represents bumping up against who we perceive ourselves to be. So one of the surprises about how do I get out of my comfort zone, it's not just so much about let me affirm what I think myself to be. That's important. Or let me affirm something greater. That's helpful. Ironically, one of the things we need to do beyond the comfort zone is deal with something called our shadow, which means it's often not just the things that we like about ourselves that we need to empower to do something greater. It's embracing and accepting the things we don't like about ourselves. Because often that's where the energy has been hidden. It's in the shadow. This kind of practice is the kind of thing you can read about and do on your own. And I have a business coach because I need to embrace my shadow. I go to a spiritual practitioner because when I have anger or upset that I can tell is keeping me from making the difference I want to make, I need a spiritual guide to see me whole and help me with the courage to embrace what I haven't seen. So I think there's a question here. What are you embracing about yourself to tell a more inspiring and worthy money story? What is it you need to embrace about yourself? So I'll give you an example. This is beautiful Sylvia Christner, who has a gut health direct marketing business, and she's a Ruby level, which not everybody gets to Ruby, and she lives in Sedalia, Colorado. And what she says is, Reverend Karen, you gave me permission. So Sylvia had been spending her time and energy taking care of the family business, being over solicitous to the needs of other friends, putting her marketing activities last. And I worked with her to say, let's have you embrace your leadership. And she loved that because she thought about leadership not being a bossy person, but leadership being her confidence, her desire to serve people, her natural intelligence to be helpful, and her sharing the story of the physical healing that she'd seen in herself and her husband and others. So when she said, I'm a leader, I help people, she was able to be better about selling the products she needs to sell. But most of you know that the real ethic of someone who does a beautiful, high integrity job with a network marketing business is they honestly, courageously, ethically share the business opportunity with the right people at the right time. She had 2 people join her team, which in network marketing, you get 2 people in a 3-month period, 2 really good ones. It's a big win. So what do you need to embrace about yourself? That's our second big question. And then our final piece that I always like to help everybody with is you having a plan that gets you into building your wealth through both action and awareness. Action, so you're focused and productive. Awareness, so you're satisfied and happy. This is based on the law of circulation, which is a spiritual principle that says all of life is giving and receiving. And when we're in good, healthy circulation, we're vital. So think about a healthy body has vitality. A healthy relationship has give and take. Healthy money has good giving and receiving. What I noticed about people who were learning the holistic approach to the money keys, so I'm going to show you this books back here, is that, so 10 years ago I wrote The Money Keys, which is the complete holistic approach, spirituality, beliefs, and habits about money, is that too often folks were excited about the content, but they weren't in weekly action. So that's why I very recently wrote this little book, Grow Yourself, Grow Your Wealth, which is all about 2 weekly prosperity practices that get you into more focus and more faith. So let's talk about those. And these are practices you can adopt whether you come and work with me or not. These are practices that will be very helpful to you. Money Monday is all about giving. Faithful Friday is all about receiving. Money Monday. So Money Monday is about the aspect of circulation that's about giving. And in fact, you can think about it, it's the masculine aspect of wealth building. It's wealth through action, direction, clarity, focus. And on Mondays, the coaching is that you first give your attention to your money. You give thanks for the 100% that's come to you. You might look over the deposits or receipts or sales reports in your business or your family. And then you give spiritually. You give money off the top of what you receive. So many have heard of the idea of tithing, which is you give thanks for the 100% that comes to you and you leave 10%, a tenth is a tithe with your spiritual source. And so sometimes people are tithers and maybe they've given money on the weekend at their spiritual center. What you do on Monday is you might record the tithe or you bless it from yesterday. What I do with my Money Keys business is every Monday, I look at all the deposits and receipts, add them up, and I give 10% to people, institutions, and causes that have spiritually inspired me and the Money Keys ministry. Giving blesses you. When you give and you give off the top, you're acknowledging God is my source and you're proving to yourself that you're a giver. Mondays, give. In addition to giving financially, you give attention. You say your money purpose statement out loud and you look at your week. What are the 2 or 3 of the most leveraged actions to take? What's fun is when you're in CFO camp, we get together for 90 minutes by Zoom every Monday for 13 weeks. So we do out loud. Everybody does their money purpose statement. Everybody looks at their week for their 2 or 3 most leveraged actions. Think about it this way. On Mondays, you build your wealth by working on your business from a financial perspective at the same time that you're also making your phone calls and doing the other activity you would do to work in your business. Giving creates focus. And we need receiving. So Faithful Friday. Receiving deepens our faith. Don't skip this. Sometimes when we get very busy and focused on leading our businesses, we think if the harder I work, the better results I'll get. But we're mystical sacred beings existing in human expression, and we need action, but we also need awareness and faith and stillness. So Fridays are your time to do 2 rounds of reflection and appreciation so that you literally can feel satisfied, wealthy, fed, and aware. On Fridays, my recommendation is that you receive spiritually. You look back over your week and you say, how has the presence of the divine showed up as and in my money life this week? So maybe you're, that mortgage banker, she's been really working with the quality of feeling peaceful about money. So she'd look back over her week and she'd say, you know what? I started to get spun out and upset over a prospect who called and said they needed a couple of extra weeks. But very quickly, I took a few deep breaths and I said out loud, God is my source, and I could feel the peace come over me. When you pause and recognize that the divine is there, it's so beautiful. And the second gratitude reflection you do on Fridays is to say, let me celebrate the results that I'm creating. So how are my financial goals and measures showing up now? So you look back over your week and you say, you know what? I went to 2 different networking events. I collected 12 business cards. And I called 8 of the people and sent 4 emails. I've never done that before. I just collect the cards and then they sit there. But I did the follow-ups this week. And you just feel that sense of like satisfaction and appreciation for yourself and for the divine. We'll never experience any level of wealth that we're not willing to feel ourselves. And so I highly recommend that you have a time in the week that you pause and stop just acting, and you softwire in this experience of receiving and being aware. And I'll tell you what I've started to do now is I do Faithful Friday on Facebook Live. It takes like 10 minutes, and I'll lead you live because we have a private Facebook group that you'll be in. So one of the things that's nice is on Friday, your phone will buzz up and say, like, join Reverend Karen for Facebook Faithful Friday. And it's just a nice way to do the practice together. These practices, Money, Money, and Faithful Friday, they work. This is Sandra and Dr. Willie Kindred. They do these practices together. So sometimes we have couples join our CFO camp, and they have so much fun together. So, every Monday they get the board out and they put their Money Monday gratitudes and where are they going to give this week and their actions. And then on Fridays, they stop and feel grateful. And they've been able, as they get into the sunset of their lives, to be able to enjoy their leisure time and their marriage and grandkids coming, all of that even more so because they have this rhythm of results. So I've covered a lot here, 3 different big topics. Number 1 is your financial breakthroughs, your goals and your results. Number 2 is your healing, getting out of that comfort zone and embracing the shadow for your confidence. And number 3 is your practices for weekly momentum. If you did nothing else but take these tools and put them into action, you could get results. However, here I come with a bit of a warning. Excuse me. The slide is flashing. Warning, warning. Most people need a structure, commitment, and support to really start and sustain a new financial experience. So I know you, like me, have gone to hundreds of webinars and coaching things, and it's wonderful to hear the ideas, but if you're going to really sustain something new, you need to have a structure to put them into place, your own personal commitment, and for many people, the support of a mentor and a group, and frankly, the power of investing so you stay accountable and committed to making that change. And that's what CFO Camp is all about. So here's what Anne has to say. She's the executive director of a Sylvan Learning franchise in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. And she says, CFO Camp was supportive, systematic, and loving. I am much more intentional with my approach to money and the systems surrounding money. I have a sense of freedom that comes from understanding my strengths and my value. What I also want to say about Anne is she was able to hire the right new person to join her team and reconfigure what her role is in the business so she's able to increase profits, but not just through her own hard work. So let's give you some details about CFO Camp, and then your next step is to set up a personal conversation with me to see if it's right for you. So these details are important. CFO Camp is weekly coaching for you and yourself as a money leader. It's a 90-day experience, so 13 Mondays. And the dates for our next camp, January 29th to April 23rd. So that's Monday mornings, January 29th to April 23rd. The 90-minute Zooms are at 9 a.m. Pacific. In 90 minutes, 9 a.m. Pacific. So if you're on the West Coast, 9 a.m. If you're on the East Coast, that'll be 12 noon. For those in Mountain, that'll be 10 a.m. Most people, here's what happens on the Mondays when they join CFO Camp. You get up, you do your spiritual practice, take care of kids, family, dogs, yourself, little exercise. You triage your emails if you need to. Your team needs you. You do your triage stuff. And then it's like, okay, it's 9 o'clock or it's 10 o'clock. Now, I feel like I want to keep going, but I'm going to stop. And I'm going to work for 90 minutes on my consciousness and my business with Reverend Karen and my CFO group. So it has this feeling of the start of the week, but it's rising you into being way more strategic. So that's the main group time that we're together. CFO Camp also includes curated content. So those 90-minute Zooms, I have teaching, financial goals, shame, telling your money story, how to read financial statements, like lots of teaching, but also coaching in the warm seat together, plus practice and connecting with your prosperity partners. So that 13 weeks of training and work and planning happens in the sessions. We have a special private CFO Camp site where all the replays are there. So if you're traveling and you need to miss one of the weeks, you can always get a webinar replay. There's a private Facebook group where I'm on there pretty much every day, every other day. So if you've got a specific question, you just put it right on our private Facebook group and I answer it right there. So it's a way to stay in touch with me all the time. If you want to feel, is this for me? You're going to want to set up a discovery session. So this link is there on the screen, and I'm going to read it out in case somebody is listening to this replay audio. You put in the HTTP and a colon, and then 2 backslash, and then bit.ly, bit.ly, then a slash, then K Russo disc sesh, KRUSSO DISCSESS. I sure as heck hope you are seeing this URL to set up your discovery session. A discovery session is a 25-minute complimentary session. We will talk about what your biggest goals and challenges are. I'll share a tool with you, and then we will get you signed up for CFO Camp only if it's a fit for you. You get to make a decision in that conversation with me. If for some reason you're hearing this and you didn't get the URL, you can email customercare@themoneykeys.com and they will get you set up. A couple more bonuses you get in CFO Camp is you get a private session with me to use during your 90 days. Plus, there's an online library with 100 different audios, videos, and tools, including Mind PT and some other brain training tools. I help you figure out which ones are the right ones for you. So it's like this giant library, but I help you decide which of the tools you need. So your next step, as I've mentioned, is the discovery session. One of the things people will want to ask, they really want to ask several questions. Is this for me? Is this for you? And what I want to say is I like to offer a satisfaction guarantee. The program is an investment, so I haven't even talked about the investment yet. Let's do it this way. Imagine what it's costing you to stay stuck at your old pricing, at your old level of sales, expenses outweighing revenue in your business, or having no plan to eliminate your debt, or feeling like it doesn't matter how much more money you make, you're still not keeping enough. How much is it costing you to stay where you're at? It's probably, for most of you who are at the 50, 60, 70, 80,000 level, or even if you're at the 200,000, 300,000, or you're up to a millions and more level, it's costing you. So do a little math. What is it going to cost me if in 90 days nothing changes? And then I want you to also think about, if I was to make some changes, what could my ROI, my return be? Like, how much more money could I make and keep? So the investment for CFO camp, the list price is $2,997. It's just about $3,000 is the list price. So for many of you, you just want to think like, could I see 5,000 more in my business in 3 to 6 months? There you go. Boom. Investing in yourself makes a lot of sense. And I want to tell you, you can afford to invest in yourself to achieve the results you desire. I also want to tell you that for those of you that have listened this far and watched this far in the webinar, if you get on a discovery session with me in the next 12 days, we will get you a nice savings coupon when you're on a discovery session with me for signing up. So just know that a savings is in your future. And then sometimes people will ask, what makes this program better than other business coaching? I'd say the big idea there is it's holistic. I'm smart about business strategy, marketing, and sales, but I'm deeply an expert in spiritual principle. And when you have the two things together, you make progress. And then why should you trust me, Karen? I would say this. I'm investing in myself in the closer to 5-figure number every year in business coaching and spiritual counseling so that I keep learning and growing. I've been in this ministry for a long, long time and delivering this program. We've now had, maybe it's been 6 different CFO camps. Consistently, 2/3 of the people get at least 2 of those 3 results. And virtually 100% of the people say when they finish that they would recommend this to others. And then, how will I know if it's a good investment? I would say it's a combination of doing a little math, but it's also listening to your heart and your gut. If you feel like, I want to do this, the key for most people is, are you willing to do the work? And I'll meet you at the edge of your willingness. So that's the big headlines. The final thing I'll say is I hold you in prayer throughout the entire 90 days. And I'm a spiritual coach who sees you already wealthy, already whole. So if you believe that that's a valuable component, you probably are a good fit for CFO camp. And I will tell you, whether you take action and sign up for a discovery session with me, or you decide to do work on your own, please do something. If you've watched this webinar and taken notes and heard these stories, one of the worst things you can do for yourself is hear these good ideas and not take action. I don't want you to stay stuck. So I really am committed to you getting out of the financial and creative overwhelm so that you're not working hard, but on the wrong stuff and feeling drained. So you're not tracking numbers, but they're ones that are wasting your time, and that you're not trying to look good and not heal the inner stuff about money. I want you to be successful. So that's what I have to say to you, beloveds. I thank you so much for being here. Your next step is to schedule a discovery session or reach out to our team, customercare@themoneykeys.com. I love and appreciate each one of you. I'm going to stop the recording and then stay on for questions with the people who are here locally.